transforming karma, enlightening wisdom.
Welcome to today's deep dive into a very special document, a dialogue between a master and a disciple. The core of their discussion revolves around the power of bodhicitta, specifically how it brings fearlessness, transforms our perception of suffering and happiness, fulfills wishes, and illuminates wisdom. We're going to meticulously examine the master's teachings. Our exploration today will focus entirely on the master's explanations in this dialogue, bodhicitta. He clarifies, isn't just compassion. It's a profound form of wisdom and power that fundamentally changes how we view ourselves and the world. The document begins by discussing fearlessness, using the metaphor of a bodhisattva's bodhicitta great compassion crown, likened to the wish-fulfilling jewel on a dragon king's head, which dispels the fear of evil destinies. However, this fearlessness isn't for oneself. It's for the purpose of rescuing beings in dire, even terrifying, circumstances. This requires immense courage, right? The master explains that the key to this fearlessness lies in awakening to one's true nature, which means thoroughly understanding that all phenomena and beings in this world are essentially like illusions. This doesn't mean they don't exist, but that they aren't permanent or substantially real. Therefore, the master presents a core viewpoint. Within illusion, there is no merit or demerit. When you truly grasp the illusory nature of things, that fundamental fear naturally loses its grip. Is it about seeing through things rather than avoiding them? Yes, precisely. The master even mentions that at a certain level of cultivation, one can achieve a state of spontaneous ease. For instance, even if a fire rages outside, one can, through deep concentration and wisdom, choose to feel cool and peaceful internally. Of course, this requires profound skill. This concept of illusion directly connects to the next point, our perceptions. The document states that suffering isn't merely about external events, but more importantly, how we interpret them internally. The master gives a fascinating example, deep-sea hydrothermal vents, which we perceive as high temperature, high pressure, and highly toxic, are home to creatures that thrive there because their karma dictates it. This completely overturns our fixed notions of suffering and happiness. This is what the master consistently emphasizes in the dialogue. Experience arises from karma. Our experiences and perceptions manifest according to accumulated past actions, thoughts, karma, and our cognitive patterns. So why can bodhisattvas freely determine their perceptions? Because through practice, they gain the ability to transform the of karma. As the master mentions, the Buddha could eat sand and perceive it as delicious. This isn't because the sand itself became tasty, but because the Buddha's internal state had transcended material limitations. According to the master's teachings, this stems from the Buddha's incredibly pure karma, meaning he never caused any being unpleasant experiences, and his attitude of utter reverence towards all things. Conversely, if our minds are habitually filled with hostility and rejection, even good things will struggle to bring us genuine happiness. Next, the dialogue uses the wish-fulfilling jewel Mani Ratna to symbolize bodhicitta, stating that it can fulfill all wishes and is inexhaustible. But here I have a question. What if beings desire mundane, or even potentially undesirable, things? For example, wanting immense wealth or endless entertainment? The master's response in the document is quite surprising. How so? The master says to give it to them, and to give it in excess. For instance, if someone craves gold, okay, here's a ton. But on the condition that they carry it themselves. Carrying a ton of gold is impossible, right? Or someone who loves watermelon. All right, here's a whole truckload, but you must eat it all on the spot. That sounds a bit harsh on the surface. It might seem that way, but the master explains that this is actually a form of compassion imbued with profound wisdom, known as skillful means apaya. Its purpose is not indulgence or punishment, but to allow beings to experience for themselves that what they so stubbornly pursue as fleeting pleasures, like eating, drinking, and entertainment, once they exceed a certain point, transform into suffering and burden. Learning through experience, precisely through this direct experience, they might then be willing to let go of their attachments and seek true liberation. Of course, this requires extremely sophisticated wisdom to judge when and how to apply such methods. It's not done haphazardly. The master also uses this opportunity to lament that, compared to ancient cultures that benefited from good long-term influences of habits and concepts, and understood gratitude, modern society is somewhat lacking in this regard. Finally, the dialogue discusses bodhicitta as a bright lamp that amplifies the light of wisdom and dispels the darkness of ignorance. But we usually live in daylight, or with lights on, don't we? What kind of darkness is being referred to here? The master explains this very clearly. This darkness doesn't refer to the physical absence of light, but rather to ignorance avidya, a fundamental lack of understanding regarding the true nature of the universe and life. It's like someone confined to a room that has been sealed for 1,000 years. They are utterly oblivious to the world outside God. So what is true light? It's the wisdom that allows one to clearly see the complete causal chain and interconnectedness of all things. But the challenge lies here. The master says that sentient beings are often like naturally blind people in this dark room, even if you light the lamp of wisdom, because they have never seen light and have even grown accustomed to darkness. They might not see it, or even want to see it. Therefore, the Bodhisattva's work isn't just about lighting the lamps. The master's teaching emphasizes that the more crucial work is to first help beings heal their ailments. That is, step by step, helping them remove that ignorance and accumulated past karmic obscurations. This requires immense patience and various ingenious methods to guide them, leading them to willingly open their eyes, take refuge in the awakened path, and begin to learn and practice. Thus, deeply understanding the state of being's ignorance is an extremely important part of the process. Okay, I think we've thoroughly covered our discussion for today. This master-disciple dialogue, based on the master's explanations, reveals several important aspects of bodhicitta. It brings true fearlessness through the realization of emptiness and the illusory nature of phenomena. It can transform our perceptions through pure karma and an attitude of utter reverence. It employs highly skillful means to guide beings to see through the limitations of desires. Finally, it is dedicated to using the light of wisdom to dispel beings' deep-seated ignorance. Exactly, that's an excellent summary. So, a question for our listeners to ponder. Since our perceptions and cognition are largely shaped by past actions and concepts, what the master refers to as conditioning, how can we consciously choose to imbue our minds with seeds that can truly bring long-lasting peace and the light of wisdom? This perhaps is the most practical question we can take away from the master's teachings.